Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville, and welcome to Impact. Each week we bring you information about exciting things that are happening right here in our community, and today will be no different. In just a short while, a very important symposium will take place right here in this community that will focus on two key issues of diversity and inclusion, topics that are nationally being discussed and for one special day will be discussed in its entirety right here in the Huntsville community. Today, here to talk to me about this is a person who's working with the planning process, and I'm very delighted to have her here with me today. She's President and CEO of Leadership Huntsville, Sarah Savage. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for this opportunity.
It's great to have you, and it's great to be able to talk about this event because you and I have been a part of this big planning process.
About a year.
That's right. Well, a seed was planted about a year ago. Talk about that whole process, because I remember it. It was a room of people kind of talking about what can we do.
Yes. So this is unprecedented. This has been an effort among some key partners in our community. So this is actually convened by NASA. We have leaders from the Army, City of Huntsville, Chamber of Commerce, Leadership Huntsville, Madison County, which I represent, Alabama A&M, UAH, and Oakwood. And we came together and tried to figure out a good way to help our community kind of stay ahead of and think about the changing demographics in our world, and particularly in the United States. In a very short while, our workforce is going to change. It is changing before our eyes. The age makeup, the racial makeup, the gender makeup, and so forth. And we wanted our community to stay at the forefront, as it has always been, and be progressive in how we embrace diversity, but beyond that, how we include all of those voices in all of our workforces.
And you mentioned that this is an unprecedented thing. You and I both have worked in our own arenas with the issue of diversity and inclusion. Many of these other individuals have as well, and then many others have also been a part of that conversation. Yes. But this is really a very intentional effort to bring core groups of people together who have substantive reach across the community and talk about what does the footprint of diversity and inclusion look like in our community.
Exactly.
And then going forward, as Huntsville continues to grow, projected to outpace Birmingham in terms of population about 10 years from now.
Right.
This is an important conversation that lots of people need to be engaged in. Isn't that right?
That is exactly right, and that's part of what we hope. The event is free. We encourage companies to bring their human resources folks, their chief operating officers, even their CEOs and leaders, and whether that be in government, in education, in healthcare, and of course in industry, we will give the attendees practical tools to take back to their workplaces to talk about how do you have conversations around this subject? How do you ensure that in meetings that all different points of view are heard? How can you work on recruiting that workforce? Because a lot of those tools, people want to do it, but they just don't know how. And it will help to have that conversation among all of these different audiences, again, particularly from a business and a leadership perspective, as to how we can kind of shift that in each of our organizations so that, again, we stay ahead of and embrace all of the changes that are happening now.
That's right. And you know, successful economics is a global economy. It's a global concept.
Yes.
We have companies right here in our community represented from all over the world. We have people who are increasingly diversifying the community, whether that's at the academic level from the students, many of whom we want to get their educations here, but perhaps stay in the Huntsville community. And as more companies move in, they're asking that question. What is the diversity of your community? What is your commitment to making sure that this community reflects the people that live here? And those are important questions that are being looked at on a regular basis.
Exactly. And again, you know, we can't control what is happening internationally and nationally and even at our state level in some cases, but here in our own community, we can make a choice as to how we as leaders and employers in whatever area that we are in, make sure that we are being inclusive. And guess what? We know for a fact that inclusion and diversity in a workforce produces a terrific bottom line. And that, whether it's economic development for the city of Huntsville where you are, or in my case with leadership, we want a diverse pool of leaders. If you're in real estate, if you're in education, you want those different voices because those results are going to be so much better if you can hear lots of different points of view.
Right, and you've probably had this experience as I have. Oftentimes when people begin talking about diversity, they bristle. I still hear, even in our current climate, people say, why can't we just all get along and just move forward down the line? And of course, those are wonderful, idealistic ways of looking at life, but not only is it not the reality for me, but it's also not the essential thing that should happen. I take great value in diversity because it represents differences of opinion, idea, thoughts, and really contributes to the whole of something becoming something even greater as a consequence of not the blending of those ideas, but the integration of those things that actually helps move us forward.
Absolutely. My background and your background may be very, very different. And I might not understand why you see something that's happening right now in the world differently than I do. But you know what? If you're not afraid to have those conversations and you'll take time to ask someone and talk to them about that and find out why their point of view is different, it will make you a better person, a better decision maker, and again, your organization will benefit from that. It's not easy.
Right.
May not agree with you all the time.
Right.
We don't expect that, and we're not saying that our community is perfect. No community is perfect. But again, what we can control is how we react and how proactive we are in addressing these issues.
That's right. And great care has been given to putting together an agenda that addresses multiple things. I'm just going to share some of the sessions. They include one called the recency of voice, a safe place to talk, which is critical in this conversation. The business case, the why behind diversity and inclusion. Implicit bias, something that lots of people are experiencing and talking about today. That's continuing the conversation on that. And then education mission, STEM, a very important conversation today because of the community that we're in once again, and also because of the cutting edge educational technologies and opportunities that exist today. Not only that, but Steve Robbins, an international corporate trainer, will be here to be a part of this conversation. Talk about just this notion of having these different people in the room putting these pieces together, because it's really been like putting a puzzle together and looking for that final piece. Normally people start with the edge and then they work in from there. And it's really been a lot like that in a lot of ways, putting the workshops together, putting the opportunities for networking together, finding the critical people to be a part of that. What has that experience been like for you?
And Kenny, that's a great question. And I've said before, I've been doing events like this, and you have too, for nearly 30 years. This has been one of the best experiences of my life. Honestly, the most diverse committee that I've ever taken part in. And it was a great exchange of ideas. Sometimes we didn't all agree, and we had to talk through that and be honest as to why we thought that. All those elephants in the room that we have when we talk about things in this committee experience, and again, all these partners that I mentioned, this was NASA, the City of Huntsville, leadership, the education and government, we were able to just put the elephant out there and we talked about it. And you know what? No one attacked the other person. We were able to talk through it and come out with a really terrific opportunity. And that's what I just cannot endorse and emphasize how much benefit it will be if you can just get a few people from your company to join us. We've worked hard to make it affordable. We've got sponsors who are covering things that need to be sponsored, and each of the partners brought something different to the table. It'll be very much worth attendees' time.
That's a great point too, because I was actually going to reemphasize that everybody who came to the table had something to contribute to the process. Sometimes that was an exploration of resources. You know, why might this fit better with this group than another group? Or how might this group be able to move a certain process forward? We've been seeing over the last few Sundays blogs from city leaders who have spoken to the issue of diversity and inclusion, which has been valuable in the conversation. This really has been a high energy process that I'm excited about, and I'm sure it will produce great fruit. Tell us where this will take place. We haven't told people that yet. We did give them the best price in the world, free.
I know, it can't get any,
beat
you
that.
don't have an excuse. So if it's not in your budget or something, right?
That's right.
So it's April the 20th. So it's coming up actually this month. It'll be at the Civic Center. Again, you would go online to the website, the Future and Beyond Huntsville, and I think you guys will have it up on the screen too. We do ask everyone to register simply so that we can get a count for the food and the setup and so forth. But just think through those folks in your company that it would benefit. And again, they're going to have practical things to bring back. So it's a very good investment of your time.
Yeah, and I envision this to be a room of what I would describe as maybe practitioners in a very collective way. So like you say, you have HR people, you may have some CEOs of companies, you'll have some of the lay people that are in the field every day working on these kinds of things, and the opportunity to gain valuable insight as to how we move forward as a community just seems to be an awesome opportunity that has been presented here with this particular conference. There's no one takeaway from this experience. But when somebody might ask you, what's the takeaway for this for people? What do you hope people will have either achieved or experienced from having been here? What would you say to that?
You know, I hope that their attendance at this event will be kind of what you and I have experienced in this committee. For that day, we want to invite you to step outside of your normal workplace, to open up your eyes and your ears and your heart, frankly, and your mind, and listen. Listen to the stories that are in the room. Listen to each other, because when we do that, we find out that we have a whole lot more in common than we do different. And guess what? Again, if we listen to each other and embrace that, we're all going to be better.
Yeah, boy, I couldn't have ended it on a greater note than that. Sarah Savage is President and CEO of Leadership Huntsville and a part of this organizing group. Thank you for the support that you've given and for the information that you shared with us today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share it.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for being a part of our conversation today. Again, as Sarah said, you can go to the website at futureandbeyondhsv.com and register for this free event. It is chock full of information and opportunities that you do not want to miss. And if you happen to work for a company, or you own a company, or you're interested in learning more about what's happening at the Huntsville level as it relates to the issue of diversity and inclusion, this is the place that you want to be. Again, it takes place on April the 20th at the Braun Center's North Hall, and the place to register again for free is futureandbeyondhsv.com. And you can also see a video of the show that you just watched by going to our Facebook page at Impact with Kenny Anderson, where you'll not only see the video, but you'll see some behind-the-scenes shots of what happens once the camera stops rolling. For Impact, I'm Kenny Anderson. I hope that you have a great day.